Is D-Day for the economy. Can the finance minister juggle the budget to keep the country from junk status and provide hope of economic growth? Well, Professor Chiridzi Marwala has written an opinion piece saying government could use the theory of nudging to help solve some of our economic troubles. Marwala is also the Vice-Chancellor at the University of Johannesburg. He joins me now in studio to unpack what nudging is all about. So it's many of us will say hint, hint, nudge, nudge. It literally comes from that sense that you nudge someone onto a certain direction. So you're basing this on people don't always act rationally, as has always been presumed in the self-interest. So therefore, you might have to coerce them or nudge them. What is this theory of nudging?
Well, maybe just to talk a little bit about theory of nudge, I wrote an opinion piece because we had we have a reading club where we read a book. So I read the book, The Nudge. The concept comes from the field of artificial intelligence. So nudging basically are those sort of actions, decision points that you do in order to get people to involuntarily act in a particular manner. So there is an element of opting out. We are nudging you, but because of the psychology of people, the way we are made, you are able to do you act in a certain way. So
let's get straight to examples then. You cite Woolworths, what they've done, and you cite institutions such as FNB and Vitality.
Yeah, absolutely. So for example, if you want to nudge somebody not to cancel their subscription, then you can obviously make it punitive for people to cancel. So the trick here is that you don't force them not to cancel, but you make it such that it is in their interest not to cancel. So that is what you call nudging. And then obviously there is a story that I read about Woolworth, where in fact when I was at Woolworth here in Rosebank, I wanted some Bawan, and I couldn't find it at the queue next to the till. And then when I read, it was because we are being nudged not to eat things that are not good for us. And the way you nudge in that instance is by making sure that it is not there at the final point of sale. And you act in your own...
And you say in some instances it works by way of reward, and you use in that instance the example of Vitality.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's not an incentive scheme. I need to differentiate from this. There has to be an element of psychologically manipulating your mind so that you can act in a particular way.
Psychologically manipulating.
For example,
your mind.
there is a story that has often been told that in Chicago you had this band where you used to have lots of accidents, and now you put lines, and when you come closer to the band, the lines are much, much closer. And when you are driving, it is as if you are accelerating when you come to the band. And what do? You naturally break down so that you are not accelerating in a band. So you are being nudged to de-accelerate next to the band.
In fact, you're saying that this has been done elsewhere. You say that David Cameron had a nudge unit in his government. The Obama administration had something similar. But more importantly, more interestingly for me, you cite the example of Spain. What did these governments do? Very quickly, Prof.
Absolutely. So what happens is that, organ donation is something that is very important because people can need it. And now what the Spanish government did was to make it a rule that unless you decide to opt out, then automatically your body parts when you die are going to be harvested for organ donation. And it turns out that people don't take time to go and opt out. And of course, if you had done it the other way around, the amount of donations that we're going to get were not going to be very high. So what you are doing there is you are nudging people to donate by making it not easy not to donate. You are making it not easy not to donate, but easier to donate. And that's exactly what they got.
So it's nudging people to donate. Then let's bring it home then to the problems that we face as South Africa. How would government, we've talked about the private sector institutions and the kind of consumer behavior they want. It's easier, some would say, to nudge people in as far as that is concerned. How does government nudge people into doing the right thing by way of keeping our cities clean, things such as paying our bills on time?
Absolutely. I mean, a classic example is issue of corruption, and we know that it is a big problem in our society. But how many times have you seen posters that are saying that stay away from corruption? You're nudging people not to participate in corruption. So those are simple nudges that you can be able to do. You just make it visible that there is a campaign against corruption. If you look at the cleanliness of our streets, when was the last time you saw any sign that is saying keep our streets clean? Or a billboard that says that, keep Johannesburg clean, for example. We don't see that, so we are not being nudged. We are not being nudged to clean our streets. So those are simple examples of something that when you put it out there visually, then psychologically, you act in a way that is good.
But what about this whole idea of a social score, that your conduct in one way can be tracked so that it yields reward for you in another area of your life that's important to you?
Well, I mean, I must also confess that is actually quite a controversial score.
Yeah.
That is in China. Basically, because of technology such as artificial intelligence and cameras, they are able to watch you and they are able to score you. If you are speeding, then your score is decreased. If you are crossing the street when the robot is green, then you are rewarded. And obviously they link it to your shopping, your repayment, and so on and so forth. And you can be able to reward people who are acting responsibly in society. Of course, that requires huge amount of effort in investment into technology that are going to make sure that social score is possible.
Professor, thank you so much. Always a pleasure talking to you and hearing some of your ideas and thinking around some of these concepts. That's Professor Chiredzi Marwala from the University of Johannesburg. He's passionate about all things fourth industrial revolution and technology, also in solving some of the problems that vex our nation.